I've made a decision. We're building some irons for me. See what we're building next. Welcome back to the McGolf Shop. Jim McCleary here, and this is the McGolf channel where we talk about golf club repairs, golf club reviews, and golf club fittings, all so your scores can go low. If you would, like, subscribe, hit that bell across the bottom of that, subscribe, all that stuff, so this information gets out to YouTube universe. Also, we have a live stream on Mondays. It's at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 17:30 for you guys across the pond. It's a live version of this very same stuff. Ask questions one-on-one. It is a good time. Join us. We've had a lot of new people. So yeah, come on up. Alrighty. So in my last video, it'll be up in one of these areas, we were trying to figure out what iron I would like. It's been a while since I've built a set of irons for myself, and it was just about time. Alright, we've had changes, gotten older. The swings got a little slower, just by a little, just by a little. And so we did some testing. Now, I have the difference. I have Callaways, I have Wilsons, I have Srixons, and I have Mizunos. And I prefer what would be called hollow bodies, or the player's distance category. That's what I like. And I don't like a massively wide sole because of the way that I go through the turf. The wide sole interferes at the trailing edge, and then it makes me not hit the ball well. So after all the testing I've done with all the reviews that come out, I settled on to two golf clubs. Now, what two? Let's just name a few here. So I went through the Srixons. Srixons felt great. They did. They felt really good. However, they just didn't get out there where I wanted to. All right. The sole on the 5 was a little too wide. I hit the 7. It's only about a degree or so better, but it just didn't get out there. Even if I jacked the loft, we could have done that. However, I didn't like the way it got out on toe misses, which is my miss. It was way torquey. Callaway, like them, but I'm not so certain I want a super lofted club just yet. I like stronger clubs to be sure for distance, but those are over the top. So if you're looking for just a pure distance, most certainly the way to go. I'm just not. Which leaves us to Mizuno and Wilson, 245 or the Dynapower Forge, or the Dynaforge, like I like to call it. And it went back and forth. I did 35 shots apiece. It spread out over 2 weeks, just to make sure I wasn't having a good day with one and not with the other. And the Wilson edged out Mizuno literally by 2 yards. Now, all you guys that were watching this before, you're like, there's a lot of Mizuno fans out there. and it did. It felt good. They hit a couple of screamers out there. But as a whole, it was just a little bit behind, but not by much. You could have went either way just based on a favorite and not noticed a difference in the way that the club would have performed. So what it did is it came down to me a particular kind of feel. Now, I will say the Mizuno was very responsive off the face, and you could tell. All right, you could tell. However, I was a little bit better with those. All right. With those, and those are the Dyna Forged clubs. All right, so called up Wilson, said, hey, let's talk about the Dyna Forge. So I got to talk to Harry Nordwell, and this is what we talked about. No, the power holes didn't bother me. It was just the width of the sole. And the previous models, they were very wide. And this one, I don't know if it's just because the way the club is constructed cosmetically or whatever, but it doesn't seem to be as wide as the previous models. And like, okay, because I'm not a real big divot taker, and this got in the way. But this, I just find the middle of the club. But is if I pick something like this, I'm running to my loft and line machine and I'm jacking it 2 degrees, maybe more, in order to get where I need to go.
Yeah. Yes, no, exactly. It's definitely preference, and we look at different categories of golfers. Obviously, you've got your players iron, your players distance, game improvement, super game improvement. The way that we look at things is to make the best performing product for this type of golfer. Um, this type of golfer definitely is trending towards the more player look-ish at address regarding sole and top line, but they still want the forgiveness and they still want the distance. So the cool thing about like the blades and the CBs, they have that player look at address. But if you're not getting the distance out, hey, you can bend them to whatever lofts that you want to do to hit a spin, dynamic loft, descent angle to your preference. And again, with the Dynapower Forged, it has a slightly wider sole than the CB. It's not overpowering, but for that golfer that maybe just needs a little bit more power, a little bit more forgiveness in the bounce of that sole, it could really help them get to where they need to be.
And I would absolutely agree with that one because, and that's just the design of a golf club, right? When you have
Mm-hmm.
the CB, I mean, this is for a guy that's going to strike the golf club in the center for the most part.
Center-ish,
And
yeah.
yeah,
For sure. Yeah.
and typically, if you're somebody like that, you've probably got a pretty decent club head speed, so you don't need the super loft that a lot of the other ones are doing. But this was the category I picked last year and this year to be. This is the one that's going to drive a lot of golf companies, and that's I called it the player's distance model.
Yeah.
And it was the guy that was a very decent ball striker in the day, or even somebody up and coming the other direction, because this is the one that
Mm-hmm.
it matched a lot of people, and it had just enough forgiveness for the guy that was coming off of his game and coming onto their game, and it was strong enough so that the guy coming off his game still threw that club out there just where they think that they should be putting it, and the other guy is coming up going, wow, hey, that, and because they're just figuring it out.
No,
And
100%. I can 100% agree with you. It's for a golfer that maybe have played blades in the past, but they want and used to that nice player look at address, but
mhm.
just need that forgiveness. So, like you said, they're coming down, and these ones are coming up, and you get a big amount of population playing that iron, or should be playing that iron, just for the looks wise and distance and forgiveness. We always love our history and we'll always stand by it. But what we want to do is push innovation, push looks, push feel to a ball striker for the younger generations that's coming through. Now, for the Dynapower Forged, obviously we have the Dynapower in the market in 2023, which we had the WS in there. So we wanted to nicely compare that and match that to the Dynapower that's already in the market with the WS. But as you move forward and you see as year by year, that WS will come off, and you'll just see that nice, clean, sleek shield in the staff model lines.
Let's talk more about the Dyna. I've been calling it the Dyna Forged.
Hey, Dynapower Forged, yeah, that's our player's distance line.
So what I read on the website, 8620, is that the
Mm-hmm.
whole club or is it just the face?
Yeah, so we got the forged 8620 carbon steel. It's got that forged face on there, and then you've got the nice material that supports it. And then you've got a lot of technology that packed into this iron. So with that forged, you're going to get that forged feel, even though you've got the forgiveness of a cavity back.
Okay, so we, as much as I'm trying to not shine it, but we have, is this part of the badging? Is there a bit of a muscle under here, or is there some weight in order to because you got holes that allows. Well, let's just
Yep,
go through it. We got the power holes,
we got a new redefined power hose. Yeah.
right, and that's to allow for face flex so that we get some ball speed. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah. So what we've done with the previous gen compared to this generation is we did a study, and about 85% of golfers actually strike it slightly towards the toe,
Mm-hmm.
because they want to eliminate that S word. Um, which I will not say. But they want to eliminate that, so they kind of err on the side of caution towards that toe. So what we did is by making the power hole a little bit longer on that toe section, it encompasses the more ball speed. So it's kind of like a sweet spot in the middle, but then you've also got a sweet spot slightly to the toe side. But what is the core? That's the power hole construction. So you get a lot more power no matter where you strike it, and it allows you to really get some distance back in those longer irons.
So,
So you incorporate those power holes, and then with the face, we've got that variable face thickness, where AI generated. You would have to do multiple years of testing to get to where we got to with this iron, to find out where the strike locations are for the golfers, where the weak points, where the strong points are, and then we're allowed to take that data and really reinforce, take away mass here, add mass here. So there's lots of like consistencies across the face. So high MOI, and then you incorporate that with the new power hose, and it's kind of a beast. It really is.
no, it's a good looking club. So, for keeping with the power holes, at what point did the power holes stop?
So seven and below, you're going to get the more. That's where you're going to be more not pin seeking, but you're going to be I like to call it. You're going to be aggressive to targets, right? So whether it's the middle of the green, you're going to be aggressive. You don't want a potential jump in ball speed if you step on one to get after it. So we removed the power holes on those areas to give you a bit more control going into the green, where you're going to really score. For the longer irons, you're going to have a little bit more forgiveness, and then what you want a little bit more ability to get to the distance, like we just talked about. Where if you're going to hit the green, and longer irons are obviously harder to hit, but if you've got water and if you go after it a little bit more, you might be just slightly long of where your normal one is. But if you didn't have the forgiveness built in with those power holes, you might end up just on the front of the green, or you might end up just in the water. So those longer irons just allow those power holes to really take into account those mishits. But then when it comes to the shorter irons, you can really dial it in and go after pins and locations that you want to be aggressive to.
Okay. So, what else is going on in this guy? We got variable face thickness, we got a forged face, we got some dyno holes or power holes,
Those power holes, yeah.
and
So we reduced the offset on that iron a little bit from previous modifications. We also looked at the leading edge, the top line. We kind of really looked at it in a different light, whilst making nice amount of tweaks. We didn't want to do a big jump compared to our prior gen, because it was a really good performer as well. We just want to make very incremental gains and decisions that helps ball speed, helps performance and forgiveness. And it's just a lot of tech within the iron, packed into a small profile head. And it's just one of those ones that it looks like a ball striker club, but you can get away with a little bit more spraying across the face and still get the performance that you need.
okay. So let's move on. Has this found since you're out there, has this found its way into any of the guys' bags on the tour?
It has. We've actually got Kevin Kisner playing a longer couple of irons in his bag, because he just loves the forgiveness of it. He loves the feel. He loves the forgiveness. He can work it both ways, like he can all of his irons. But he can hit more variety of shots where he can just get a little bit more ball speed out of it in his top end of his bag. Because again, he still likes that player's look address, but maybe just wants a little bit more forgiveness on the top end. So we've seen it in a couple of bags in the PGA tour for sure.
Of course, I would be lax if I didn't ask you. So, what's the future for Wilson as far as are we going to have more irons, or just better of the same, or or even in the woods? Did you have a really good year, or having a really good year, such that we're going to expand, or are we just going to get better?
All the above. We are doing really well in this year, and we did last year with the new Dynapower woods. as year on year we get going, we're not going to be standing still, right? We do not want to be standing still. We want to be pushing innovation. We want to be pushing the brand to the maximum limits that it can withstand. That means potentially more offerings, potentially different technologies. We're really kind of making sure that we get into that ball striker brand with the younger generation who honestly demand all of the options and make sure that their game is as well in tuned as tour players. So that's exactly what we're looking to do. So the future looks very bright for WIlson, and I'm very excited to be a part of it, and help get WIlson back to again where they were back in the heyday. We want to get close enough to it. We know it's a long battle, but we're not going to give up until we get to where we want to get to.
Well, Harry, I appreciate you taking the time. This has been very, very informative, at least to talk about this, the Dynapower Forged. We're going to call it Dynaforged going forward.
Do whatever
And
you need to do. Just keep selling.
and I really appreciate it. Hopefully, we can talk again. And I really do appreciate the time. Tell the folks back there, if you get back to Chicago, tell them thank you.
I
Appreciate it a
will do.
lot.
I'm up there in a couple of weeks. I'll speak to John and say we had a good conversation, and just be on the lookout for whenever the video drops.
All right, some interesting stuff. I don't know if we got super techie about it, but the idea here is that they're always improving on the irons. They're moving their weights around. They're using computers to help them out now, and they're developing a pretty good club. I foresee that maybe their woods will even get better. The ones that they had this year are still pretty good, but there's always that room for improvement, and they've got it. So as you guys saw, after we got done with the head testing, we did some shaft testing. And I ended up staying in the 95 gram category. Now I have plenty of 95 grams in there. So, you know, I fooled around with the 105s, did just fine, but the 95 just worked better. So I went through several 95 gram shafts. I'm not going to go over each one of them individually because the profiles are what we're changing. Now, this particular company has designed a shaft for the new stronger heads, and it is the Nippon 950 Neo. All right, Neo 950. It is different than their GH 950 or 950 GH, which had a softer butt section in order to bring all the club around. This profile is different to take on that lower weight in the head and keep it more stable, and it worked. My acceleration profiles were great, and that's what we're going to go with. Now, last but not least, I decided to change it up. I have been a Golf Pride fanatic forever. I did go to Jumbo Max, and they worked for a while, and now it's another time for another change. So our friends at Star Grips, I said, hey, I bought some red grips. Why not? I was thinking there would be some red with, you know, going red for WIlson, all right? And I don't mind red. I like red. I'm a Cornhusker. And so I got some red Pro grips, the Star Sidewinders. All right, Sidewinders. These are made out of EDPM rubber. It's made in the USA, and they have this outrageous guarantee to see how long they last. We very well may put them to the test. All right, I do like it. It's already kind of a tacky feeling. I don't like it where it wants to stick to you, but it has a good grip to it. It is a standard taper, which I'm normally not used to, so I'm going to put another layer of tape underneath here to kind of make it go up a little bit higher. All right. So we're going to build. And now we know why. Now we're going to build. And just like all the other ones you've seen me, we go and we weigh heads. All right. We weigh shafts and we weigh grips. So what do we do here? So what are we looking for? I'm looking for a 7 gram increments between them. As you get lower, you can get a little bit wider in order to have a total weight / swing weight type of consistency, okay? Then what we do is we go and we weigh the shafts. Now in the shafts, I want them to be as close to their original weight as they possibly can be. And the same thing with the grips. So what did we end up with? All right, from a head perspective, what we saw was we started out at a 5 iron at 258, went down to all the way down to 301.5. That's good. They're good separation, so I don't have to worry about adding or taking off any weight. They did me a solid. Now, these run a little bit heavier than what the standard ones would be. Meaning, say, a Mizuno or Srixon would probably be about half a club lighter, maybe somewhere around between 2 and 4 grams lighter. So these are a little heavier, and I think that was kind of what was helping me stay a little bit more stable with the other club. The shafts were off by each other by what do we got here? By 0.7 grams. The shafts are from the lowest to the highest, 0.7 grams. So a 93.6 to a 94.3. You can't get any better than that, right? And these comes in discrete lengths, so it's impressive. And then finally, the grips. Star Grip did me a solid with this one, and we got they started out at 48.3 and ended up at 48.5. So a 0.2, right? A 0.2 difference. So if you want to see it, this is what it looks like. All right, so now what do we got to do? We've got them all weighed. Now I got to find the spine. They use this. We take the spine finder and we take our Sharpie and we put them in there and we look for the spine. Now this is a little different. Normally when I use with Nippons, the logos always are going down, and that's normally from request. However, I've done several sets of these, and normally it fits really good with the logo down. On my particular set, it did not. I got it to where normally they were the logo was 50-50, meaning it will be in my it'll be in my lead when I swing, and most of them. The rest of them will be up. I had one that was actually down. I am not logo sensitive, so it's not going to bother me in the slightest. Okay, so now what do we got to go do? We're gonna do a couple of things. I'm gonna assemble the clubs with some fishing line in order to get a flex from them and make sure that I have it in the flow position. Then we're going to go into the bench and we're going to go glue them together. Now you guys have seen me glue a whole bunch of stuff, and I want to surprise you with the ferrule that I chose. So we're going to watch me do some flowing, and then we're going to grip it, or we're going to put the ferrule on it, and then we'll come back and we'll finish it and we'll show you what they look like, because I really want to use them this weekend as it's becoming Memorial Day. Alright, let's get this thing started. We're going to use the fishing tape, or the fishing line as the case may be, in order to take up the spot for the space that the epoxy would be taking in the hosel. And then we go and we mark our club to see what we can get out of this. Write down a flex for before we go on to the next step. Okay, I know what the number is. And there it is. See the line going right there. And we make ourselves a line. As soon as I find my pen. Oh, we'll use this one then. It's all the way over here. The case of the walking pen. Alrighty, so we got that one. And so you see it each time. We're going to speed this one up and get you going. Okay, we're going to talk you the rest through the finishing of the golf club. And as we see here, I'm doing the ferrules. The ferrules are important because it gives it a very clean look. You want the edges level, and you want no glue boogers showing up. Now, between that step and the step you're seeing now, we've applied acetone to make them look very, very shiny. We let it rest, and then we do the very, very final polishing on the Glanz Watch wheel, or it's a yellow polish from Grizzly. It doesn't take a lot to get through there, just a big turn, and what that does is that smooths out the ferrule and gives it its final shine. And then everybody likes sparks flying, so we've measured our clubs, we know what I need to cut off, and then we get through something along this line. Now, the real deal here is once we're done with that, is that we have to ensure that we get all the other metal slag and all that stuff off. So what I do is I take off and I sand it. Now, the last part here is gripping, which is quite possibly one of the most important parts. And as you can see, I'm building up my lower hand, and since it's mine, I know exactly where I want it to go. So what I do is I grip the back end of the club, and I use the brown tape as build-up tape. I was thinking I was going to use 2 wraps, but I decided against it and just went with the one and used the grip tape as a secondary piece. Now, since these are stars, everybody's going to be yelling at me about, hey, how come you didn't blow them up, or get them on there with air? And that's a real question. However, again, I am massively old school, and so I went with the tape and the solvent method. And what that allows me to do is align the star logo that's on the back end of the grip with the way that I want it to go up and down. Now, star does have a few lines that are on the top to allow you for alignment, but I just like taking it and making sure everything is looking on the up and up. The red grips are looking good. It's looking Christmassy against the green shafts. So what we're seeing here is our very end product. I'm very, very happy with the end product. I really do like what's going on. Now, next Monday, we're going to be talking about the build and how they performed. So you want to be with us on next Monday at 5:30 Eastern time and join us on YouTube. And as always, guys, let's see your scores go low.